Okay, then I think we're ready to start because we have a very lovely sized crowd full of old and new friends for Aya and for all of us to enjoy. Um, I have a little introduction where I found out why Aya is such a good tour guide. It's because she served in the Israeli army as a commander. And when she was a number of years ago, right after high school. She went to high school in Jerusalem, where she was born, and then she studied photography at Mikhaelet Hadassah School of Art in Jerusalem. And that's why she takes such good pictures when we're on tour, and she shares them with all of us. She served, as I said, in the Israeli army before she was married, and she moved to New York and worked as an assistant photographer to Chester Higgins Jr. at the New York Times. She was public relations manager in Jerusalem-owned Montefiore and the Taverna restaurants in Jerusalem and the Primavera restaurant in New York. So she's had quite a varied career, but her biggest pride and joy is bringing up 3 beautiful and amazing kids and being a grandma for 2.
Oh, already.
Right. I know she's one more than I had kept track of. She is the daughter of famous ceramic artist Naomi Bitter and legendary Israeli tour guide Benny Bitter. Her hobbies include hiking, sports, touring, and exploring new destinations, photography, history, Jewish heritage, and her favorite travel experience was finding a hidden mikvah in the center of Coimbra, Portugal, which she showed to all of us on our trip, I think. She
Yes, I
dislikes
remember that.
wasting time, so I am not going to waste any more of her precious time. I would like to introduce Aya Macias.
Hello, everyone. Wow, it's
Hi,
so
Aya.
lovely to be here. And thank you very much for joining me. And today
She's
I'm going
long,
to
though.
take you for a nice little tour of Gibraltar, where we're going to go through the past to the present. And I'm trying, because they gave me only 40 minutes, I will try to do it quite fast and short, and then I will leave some time for all of you to ask questions. But if somebody wants to interrupt me throughout the talk, so write something to Candice so she can answer or open and answer or open and stop me, okay? Otherwise, everybody is on mute, so we can go faster throughout the tour. So let's start. Okay, here we are. Gibraltar, my beautiful Gibraltar. So beside all the stories that Ken just told you, I'm also an Israeli who married to Gibraltarian. My husband, Isaac, was born in Gibraltar and belonged to a Jewish family, belonged to the Jewish community, is part of the Jewish community, not belong. And he came to Israel. He made Aliyah to Israel when he was 18, and we met in Israel, and then we traveled to New York. We lived in New York, back in Israel, here and there. And 18 years ago, we decided to come back home to Isaac's land. And since then, we're living between Gibraltar and Spain. And we have this tour company, which we are sharing our love together of touring and eating, history, and exploring new places. So this is really what we're doing. And we love people, so it's the best combination for us. So we're going to Gibraltar. So first of all, where is Gibraltar situated? I'm going to do this a little bit smaller. Okay, so Gibraltar is situated in the southern part of the Iberian Peninsula, what you know as Spain. In the Iberian Peninsula, we have Spain and Portugal. And it's just, I'm gonna add the laser point so you can all see it. This is where Gibraltar, and it's a tiny little place. In Gibraltar, we're speaking English and Spanish together, while English is our official language. So in school, everybody will learn in English, and in the street, people will speak English and Spanish. Our currency is the Great British Pound. We are under English rule. We're a colony, a British colony. And in Gibraltar, we have right now 32,200 residents living in Gibraltar. And out of these 32,600 are Jewish, belong to the Jewish community. And we have another 300 Israelis. And I don't put the Israelis together with the Jewish community, and later on we will understand why. The whole size of Gibraltar, as you can see, it's a big rock that's coming out from the sea. And the whole size of Gibraltar is 4.10 square miles. That's all. It's a tiny little thing. And if you walk around Gibraltar, it will be 8 miles. So if you want to run a marathon, just imagine how many times you have to go around, like 4 times before you finish. So this is Gibraltar. The height of the mountain, of the rock, is 426 meters, which is 1,400 feet. So it's quite high. And as you could see before, and you can see now, most of the rock is a nature reserve. So people really live, as you can see now, people really live at the bottom of Gibraltar on the bottom part, while all the upper part is a nature reserve. As you can see, all the green is like the slope that are less a stronger slope, and on the other side we have just a rock. So there's no greenery on the other side of the rock. In this picture, what we see is the entrance to Gibraltar. So really the marina that we see at the bottom of the picture of the slide is Spain, okay? All this part is Spain. This part over here is really the frontier, the border, and this is the entrance to Gibraltar. If you can realize, everyone who's entering to Gibraltar will enter on the land line. This is the airport of Gibraltar, is right over here, and everyone who coming in Gibraltar will go over the land line, which means that when a plane arriving to Gibraltar, all the car will stop and wait for the plane to land, and then they can pass and keep on moving. Now, this is very unique. Gibraltar Airport is considered one of the 10 most dangerous airports in the world, and it starts and ending in water. There was only one accident throughout the year that the plane didn't manage to stop and it ended up in the water. Nobody died then. Okay, so let's speak a little bit about the history. I'm going as far as I can, and then we come forward. So we know that Gibraltar, we know that in Gibraltar we had the Neanderthal already lived in Egypt 50,000 years ago, and probably it was one of the last places where they lived until about 24,000 years ago. In the written sources, Gibraltar is mentioned in about 950 BC in a connection of the Phoenician with its ancient name, Mont Calpe. When before Gibraltar was called Gibraltar, it called Mont Calpe, and later on we will learn why it's changed its name. Okay. Another thing that Gibraltar is familiar with, it's considered as one of the pillar of Hercules, which is the other pillar is on the other side, is the other mountain that we see here. And this is Morocco. This is Nabi Musa, Jabal Musa. So we have Jabal Musa as one pillar, and the other one is Gibraltar. There's many stories about Hercules. We're not going to get into them now, but it's a very well-known mention point. Okay, the conquest of Spain start of the Moors start at 1711. This is the time where Gibraltar became Gibraltar. The first place that the Moors were the Muslim who came from North Africa and came into Spain. When they conquered Spain, they actually conquered the whole peninsula and kept on going to France, to Italy, to Sicily, to Malta. They were very, very strong and they stayed in the area for 800 years. But the first place when they came in, the general was Tariq, and Tariq is the one who captured Mount Calpe. When he captured the mountain, the name of the mountain changed to Jabal el Tariq, the Mount of Tariq. Jabal el Tariq became Gibraltar with the years. Okay, so Gibraltar name comes from Jabal el Tariq. It's an Arab name. And if we will look in the Spain map, we will see loads of places that has Arabic name. Today they're Spanish name, but still a lot of the names are coming from the Arab tradition. So really the Moors are the first people who really live in Gibraltar and establish as a little community in Gibraltar, okay, after many years. Throughout the years, I'm not going through all the battles that we had in Spain and in Europe, but throughout the years, the Christian always wanted to go back into Spain, and there was all the time fight, and they would get some places and lose some places. But 1492, as you all probably, I hope, know about this year, heard about this year. You know what happened then? I'm sure you do. It was the Inquisition, the sign of the Inquisition. But also it was the last the last capture of the Christian over the Moors. And the last place was Granada. But inside this year, in 1492, also Gibraltar was captured back by the Catholic, by the Christian. And Gibraltar is going back to be under the Spanish rules. They managed to keep Gibraltar under the Spanish rules until 1704. What happened in 1704? In 1704, we have the Battle of the War of Succession. It was a long war of 9 years it took, this war. And this war was between the English and the Netherlands, against Spain and France. Problem was that the last king of Spain didn't have no one to inherit him, which means that after he will die, Spain will belong to France because of family relation, whatever. You know, one king has his daughter married to another king, and then if there's no one to inherit the monarchy, so the king stay with the two monarchies. In that case, in that time, England and Netherlands couldn't let something like this to happen. Began to change the balance in Europe and will make one party which is really, really strong and will be very rest of the country. Therefore, they were fighting for 9 years. These 9 years, the first place, one of the first places that was captured was Gibraltar by the English. And after 9 years, in 1713, they all sat down in Utrecht, which is a city in Netherlands, and they made like a treaty where they decided to share Europe in a different way. Okay, one of the in this treaty, Gibraltar was giving to the British people. And I put the picture here of the treaty because, first of all, I think it's a beautiful document. What's interesting is that this document is from 1713. I think today all documents still look more or less the same. It's nice to see that in Spanish it's called Tratado de Paz, which means a treaty of peace, agreement of peace. But in the English, they say Treaty of Peace and Friendship, which I think it's a beautiful way to put it, because it's not only peace, it's also friendship, which means that we give and take from each other. So it's a beautiful written. And actually, the guy who's signed here, it's Basadoni, who was a Jewish family, and he's the one who signed on it. I'm not sure why he's the one who signed on it, but it's a very interesting. Anyway, during the 18th and 19th centuries, the British colony is growing stronger and become one of the most important cities of the Mediterranean. The reason for that, if you can see the map, so this is the Mediterranean Sea. It's far away from you, but it's a very important sea. You know, Israel is here, of course, you know. But you can see what a strategic point Gibraltar has. Gibraltar is really sitting in the strait, in the entrance or in the exit from the Mediterranean to the ocean, to the Atlantic Ocean. Really, it's so small, but it has the key of the sea, really. On the other hand, if you look in this map, there's no other place to go into the Mediterranean. But we do have another place to go into the Mediterranean through the Canal of Suez, which is here in Egypt. So really from the Far East and wants to go to the West, the plan is to go through the Canal of Suez, crossing the Mediterranean Sea and get out from Gibraltar, because like this, they are saving the going around Africa, and also around Africa is a very unsafe place. We have a lot of pirates. We always had there pirates. Even today, we still have some pirates. It's not considered as the safest sea, while going in the Mediterranean, considered very safe. So just imagine every boat that has to go from the Far East or from the West are going through Gibraltar. Gibraltar become very strong. You know, we have the British, so they can stop, they can get petrol, merchandise, and anything else that they want or need to get. So it become very important place. I put this picture, I chose this picture. This picture is from the beginning of the 19th century. And as you can see, Gibraltar looked like a proper fort. Very strong, very protect. The building is up in the upper level. And on the bottom level, as you can see, there's a very busy port. You see the fishing boats, you see other boats. We had a lot of pirates and a lot of people who used to contraband, take merchandise from Gibraltar and take them to Spain. And then we have a lot of warships, because always the army was always around Gibraltar. Now I want you to remember this slide, because later on I'll show you how Gibraltar looks today, and we will see where this shore used to be. Okay. Very important day for Gibraltarians is the 10th of September. This is our national day, or Independence Day. And as you see, people are wearing red and white. They also wearing the flag of Gibraltar, that we will speak about it later. Very, very proud people, very proud of being a Gibraltarian, and very proud to be British Gibraltarian. Also later, we will speak what's make them, or what's the reason that they become so patriotic. Zionist, I even call them, over Gibraltar. Gibraltar is very important for Gibraltarian. So this was taken last year, when we already had the COVID, and we didn't celebrate. But still, even though there were not big celebration, people put the clothes and went for a walk in the street. So you can see every age, everybody is wearing the clothes. Okay, so we arrived to the Jews. Jews, why Jews are in Gibraltar? You know, like you think about it, it's such a small place. Why should they even come to Gibraltar? What are they looking there for? So it's a very interesting story, of course. So Jews are, we know about Jewish things happening in Gibraltar in the history. In 13, I can't see 1 minute. I'm sorry. Okay, in 1356, we have a written request from Jewish members to ask him to help to found a ransom for capture by pirates. Okay, and then again we have another document in 1473 where some Jews are asking to be to live in Gibraltar. We don't know what was the answer, but we know that from 1492 there were no Jews or Muslim living in the Iberian Peninsula. Maybe it was somebody who was like a group or community who were trying to get out from a bad place and thought that maybe Gibraltar will be a better place for them. But as we know that in 1492, it's already been under the Christians, so we don't know if they managed to come in or not. Anyway, but from 1704, when the British are capturing Gibraltar, they need merchandise. Of course, they are in war with Spain, so it's not easy for them to get merchandise from Spain. You saw the size of Gibraltar. We know there's no agriculture. There's nothing, no meat, no vegetables, no flour. Therefore, they need to get all this from somewhere, and the best place to get it from is from the other side of the strait, which is Morocco. When they go to Morocco and they looking for suppliers, they found out, of course, the Jews are always knew how to write and how to read, and therefore they start to working together. And in no time, some of the Jews are moving to Gibraltar because it's much easier to supply everything and to open an office and to be more closer to the people who need your stuff. So they move into Gibraltar. Something more important that I forgot to say about the Utrecht, very important, is they say inside the treaty that Jews and Muslims are not allowed to live in Gibraltar. Remember, the Iberian Peninsula is still underneath the Inquisition rules, and even though that they gave Gibraltar to the British, they still want to imply this rule that the Jews and Muslims cannot live in Gibraltar. But of course, in 1704, before the agreement, they needed the Jews, and the Jews lived there. In 1713, when they signed the treaty, we know that in Gibraltar we have already 189 Jews. So we sign a contract, but doesn't really mean anything for us, okay, you don't want them, it's your thingy that you have the Inquisition, but we stayed with our Jews. What happened is that in 1716, a bishop came to visit Gibraltar, and while he was walking on the street in Gibraltar, he sees that all the shops are closed, and all the people are wearing a suit and hat, and he's telling to his hostess, I understand that somebody really important died today. And they say, no, nobody died. It's just Shabbat today, Saturday. Therefore, the Jews are not working and they're doing the ritual. He heard that, he ran back home and he wrote a letter to Madrid, and from Madrid, a letter to the Queen of England saying, my dear Queen, we have a treaty, we have agreement, Jews cannot live in Gibraltar, please solve this problem. So the Queen is sending a letter to the governor. The governor is a public figure who's working under the Queen. He's really managing the Gibraltar. And she writes the governor and she tells him, Mr. Governor, we have Jews in Gibraltar and the Spanish know about it. We're not allowed by the treaty, by the agreement we have. Please make sure that they go. And after a while, the second time he gets this letter, he called all the Jews, tell them, please be tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock at the port. He bring a boat in, he tell all the Jews to go on the boat, and he send them to the sea. After 3 days, And then he sent a letter to the queen, and he said, the queen, my dear queen, I'm happy to let you know that there are no Jews on the rock. 3 days later, he bring back their ship and he let the Jews going back. But in 1718, this trick is not working anymore, and they had to deport all the Jews from Gibraltar. In 1721, again, there's a problem with Spain. Spain closed the merchandise. Nobody can get anything. So they have to go back to Morocco. And this time, the British said, enough, Spain, you can do whatever you want to do. We need the Jews. We bring back the Jews. And in this time, in 1721, the Jews come back as a full citizenship. They get all the rights to live and worship in Gibraltar. A very important year for us. In this picture, we see the Sha'ar Shamayim synagogue. Sha'ar Shamayim is a door for heaven synagogue. This is the first synagogue that was opened in Gibraltar in 1724, okay? And it's also operating since the Inquisition in the Iberian Peninsula. So this is a very, very special synagogue. It's working until today, okay, the same synagogue, and it's the synagogue of Isaac's family. So if you come to visit, you will see the name of all the family on the seats. And this particular building that is standing until today, it was built in 1820. Later on, because in 1750, I think they had like a fire, and anyway, they needed a bigger synagogue, so they got a bigger plot, and in the same place, they just made it a little bit bigger and redid the synagogue. So this synagogue is from 1724. Sha'ar Shamayim. In this slide, I brought another 3 pictures of well, first of all, on the right side, we have the ladies, it's nowadays, maybe 2 years ago, before the COVID, the ladies waiting for a kala to come in. The ladies are praying upstairs and the men downstairs, but they're all waiting on the stairs, waiting for a kala to come in. In the center, we have the name of the synagogue on the clock of the synagogue, Sha'ar Shamayim. And on the left hand, we have another synagogue that's called Nefutzot Yehuda. And it says on the wall, Da lifnei mi ata omed, know before who you're standing. And this is the biggest synagogue in Gibraltar. In Gibraltar, we have 4 synagogues altogether. Another 2 synagogues were opening in 1781. And the last one in 1820. So all the 4 synagogues are still working in Gibraltar until today. And just to understand what is the people in Gibraltar, how they work, every 3 months, a different synagogue is taking turns. So the people are in synagogue throughout the year. On Shabbat, all the 4 synagogue community is very close to each other, even though each one have his own synagogue, his own pride. We also have in Gibraltar an ancient cemetery. This cemetery is on the southern slope of the rock, which means it's not looking towards Spain, it's looking towards Morocco. We're not sure why they gave them this slope. It's very uncomfortable. The slope is very, the angle is impossible to bury people, really difficult. We are thinking that maybe they chose this plot because they didn't want to show that they're doing, even though that they gave the Jews the right to live in Gibraltar, I have a feeling that they didn't want to put it in the face of the Spanish people. So they chose a place that they don't see where they do the kvua, where they bury the people. But as you can see, it was very busy synagogue and cemetery. It was working from 1726 until 1848, when Then they gave them another place to bury because there was no more place. And as you can see, they buried most of the people with their head looking over Jerusalem. Okay, the head when they lie down is looking over Jerusalem, the back. But some of them, they didn't have place and they already put them in all kind of funny shapes. A few years ago, the government took over this cemetery and did this beautiful walkway, as you can see, and people can come and visit and see this beautiful, beautiful place. Today, they buried in a different place. Anyway, today we have the Jewish community in Gibraltar. We have 600 Jews. The Jewish community is an Orthodox community. I think from the 600, 99% are Orthodox. Everybody's eating kosher. Everybody's Shomer Shabbat. 4 synagogues. We have a kindergarten, elementary school where you have boys and girls together. They do the first half day, the British curriculum, and the afternoon they do Jewish studies. And when they reach to age 12, they separate girls and boys, and they have 2 schools for the boys and the girls. The Israeli community, who came to Gibraltar throughout the year, slowly, when we had a very big crowd coming like 5 years ago to one of the high-tech companies. We have a lot of high-tech companies in Gibraltar, and a lot of those companies are managed by Israelis. And the Israeli community have their own Israeli kindergarten, Jewish Israeli kindergarten. They're not so much interested in the religion, they're more interested in the tradition. So they are very happy to be in Gibraltar. They can use the facilities. The community is very warm towards them. They allow them to use the facilities, you know, when you have bar mitzvah or brit, chatuna, wedding. This is my daughter getting married. She got married. This is Sha'ar HaShamayim Synagogue, the first synagogue. And in this synagogue, all Isaac's great parents and parents got married. So she was the 6th or the 7th generation who gets married in the same synagogue. On the other side of the slide, we see an Israeli family. How do you know Israeli? They don't wear a jacket, you see, just a white shirt, and probably a jeans. But it's a father. They are celebrating bar mitzvah to their son. And as I said, the community in Gibraltar always welcoming the Israelis to come and do any ceremony that needs to be done. The Orthodox community is loyal to the Queen and the British royal family. And every Shabbat and holiday, they will bless the family as well as they will bless the Israeli soldiers and the army. So it's very nice to see the connection of the one hand to the British royal family and on the other hand, the Israel. On the right side, we have the choir of the synagogue. It's a very proud one. It belongs to the community, the men of the community. They will sing in every bar mitzvah and every wedding. It's beautiful and old Spanish song like the parents and the great parents and the great parents used to sing. And on the left side, we see a father bring in his kala, his daughter, the kala, and you can see how Orthodox everything is completely clothed. I chose the 3 figures, 3 Jewish figures who were very important and influential in Gibraltar life. The first one on the left side is Sir Joshua Hassan. Sir Joshua Hassan was elected Chief Minister of Gibraltar for 20 years. Jewish Chief Minister for 20 years, just to explain what this situation, how close all the religion. It doesn't matter about religion in Gibraltar, it's more matter about who you are and what you can give to the community. In the center, we have Mr. Momi Solomon Levy, who died a few years ago from cancer. He was the first elected mayor of Gibraltar. He was a very dear person, a very good friend of mine, and it's a big loss. He had his motto said, "We were born British and we will die British." Later on, we will speak about this sentence, why it's so important. And in the last picture, we have in the middle here, James Levy. James Levy is the president of the Jewish community, and he's working here next to Fabian Picardo, who's the chief minister in Gibraltar right now. James Levy is more or less the right hand of Picardo. He will not move, he won't do anything without speaking first with James Levy. So even though we're not having a prime minister right now who's Jewish, but the prime minister who is very related to the Jewish community. And by the way, James Levy was the brother of Solomon, of Momi Levy, and Sir Joshua Hassan was the uncle of both of them. Okay, so there's always connection. Just before we leaving the Jewish in Gibraltar, I wanted to bring the table of my mother-in-law. When we finish our Yom Kippur fast, this is the table. We come back from synagogue. We'll find the table full of food, and the bread will be buttered for us, that we don't need to work so hard. But what I really want to speak to you about is about the fried fish that we see up here in the corner. And why is it so important? So if somebody of you or your family or family that you know of are serving fried fish on Friday night, most probably they have some Spanish blood, because during the Inquisition, on the surface, we know that there were no Jews and no Muslim anymore. Everybody needed either to leave Spain or to change the religion to Christianity. But many Jews used to change only from outside the religion and kept their Judaism underneath the table. When they did that on Friday night, part of the Christian tradition is not to eat meat, while the Jewish tradition is to eat meat. So on Friday afternoon, the ladies will always put a big tray of a fried fish. In the evening, after they do whatever ritual they could do, and they would make sure that nobody from the Inquisition is coming to see what they're eating and what they prepare for Shabbat, only then they will take the meat out. Therefore, the fried fish is a very, very important part of our tradition. And until today, every Friday night at my mother-in-law, you will have fried fish. Okay, a big jump to the World War II. And I'm sure this picture, every time I see it, it gives me like something. It's a shock. You see the US named Gibraltar in the World War II. Who would believe that? So in the World War II, a very, very important place. It was the leaders of the Allied forces set in Gibraltar. Actually, Churchill and Eisenhower, who's the president and also the general of the army, sat underneath the rock in the war room, and there they command two of the most important missions, the torch mission, and the D-Day, were command from Gibraltar. If you didn't know that. So, and you have this Zeppelin here, which is incredible. And really the airport in Gibraltar was built for this war. So this is really where everything is coming together, World War II. While Gibraltar became a base, in 1940, the elderly, the women and the children were evacuated to Jamaica, Ireland, this is normal, London, okay, and Morocco because it's just close by. And then some wealthier family moved to Madeira in Portugal, which was a paradise and you could live there very well. Just a quick understanding. And this time, some men were staying in Gibraltar, who was fighting in Gibraltar. And the family could go to different places according of where they came from, which means in my mother-in-law family, my father-in-law was from Morocco. So he had to go back to Morocco while the mother and her Isaac's mom went to Madeira with all the family. For 5 years, they had no connection whatsoever between each other. They didn't know anything. 5 years. At the end of these 5 years, in 1945, when people could come back to Gibraltar, a lot of people didn't want to come back because after 5 years that they were away, just imagine 5 years in a place, it can be like a whole life, you know. You can finish university, you can already have a profession, have a work, have a shop, getting married, fall in love, having new family, new kids. So not a lot of people came back to Gibraltar. It took quite a lot of time for Gibraltar to come back. Also, a lot of Jews haven't gone back. And only later on, it took between 20 to 30 years before the community became stronger again. Okay, so now we're coming closer to us, and although the Utrecht Treaty, Spain is trying throughout the years, all the time, to regain control of Gibraltar. They really want Gibraltar back. And in 1969, Franco is closing the border with Gibraltar. It remained closed until 1985. This happened after referendum in Gibraltar clarified that the Gibraltarian people, the Gibraltar residents, are unwilling to be living under Spanish rule. It's a very important time for Gibraltar. So if you remember that Solomon Levy said, we were born British and we will die British. This has come from this period of time. Just imagine, from 1945 until 1969, relationship between Spain and Gibraltar are kind of okay, not bad. People can go in and out. A lot of workers coming from Spain to work in Gibraltar. Isaac, remember, in his house, they had like 7 or 8 workers. His grandfather had, I don't know, 12 or 20 workers. You know, you had the people who used to iron, the people who used to clean, the driver, the people who used to bring the bread, the vegetables, fish, everything came from Spain. And in one day, Franco is closing the border. No more merchandise coming in, nothing. No more workers. Isaac had a nanny that was with him since he was born until 69, 9 years. In one day, the nanny disappeared. Everybody disappeared. Nobody was there. He cut, Franco cut all the telephone line, all the communication. Everything was cut. Nothing stayed in, they had nothing. And the Gibraltarian, with no problem, immediately went to Morocco like they used to do in the good old time. And they managed to create the communication again through Morocco. They managed to bring all the merchandise. They managed to bring all the workers that they needed from Morocco. And in few weeks, everything went back to kind of normal. Not exactly, because some people, some families were cutting, you know, that some family was in Spain and some was in Gibraltar. Isaac remember from his childhood that they used to go to the border and shouting, showing a new baby that was born, you know, putting it up and saying, this is the new baby, and so on. It was very difficult, and Gibraltar was closed. Just think about it. We were talking about 4.10 miles. That's it. People used to get crazy. You couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't go to Spain. They had flights to England, I think 2 or 3 times a week. People who had boat could go with a boat, or you could fly to Morocco. That's it. It was completely isolated from the world for a while. And why it was so important? Because the Gibraltarians show to themselves and to Spain that they don't need Spain, and they can be powerful by themselves. And since that point, the Gibraltarian became Zionist, became patriotic, became British we born, British we die. So this is a very important time for Gibraltar. And this is a very important place for us. This is the frontier, the border. And as you know, Gibraltar until a month ago was part of the EU until the Brexit happened, but it was part of the EU. While all the countries in the EU, you don't really need a passport. You're in the Schengen, you can just go in and out. In Gibraltar, the border is controlled. Everyone who passed in or out Gibraltar has to show a passport. And the Spanish really, with the power, they decided how many people going in and out, what the pace of the entering and coming out. They deciding everything. Okay, it's still a very uncomfortable feeling because you are in a little Gibraltar and really you control the border by the Spanish. We hear about good news about what's going to happen with the Brexit. And hopefully Gibraltar is going to go into the Schengen of the EU. And then maybe we don't need the border anymore. We really hope so, but we still don't know. I can tell you that to Gibraltar every day entering between 10 to 15,000 workers, okay, Spanish workers, which means that a lot of the area around Gibraltar cannot live without Gibraltar. So we hope that sooner or later we will have a proper agreement and people and the border will be more function better way, more smoothly. Okay, so why do people visiting Gibraltar? Why to come to Gibraltar? So beside all the history that we heard about and the interesting of the Jewish life, the views in Gibraltar are incredible. Gibraltar is sitting on the strait that is between Europe to Africa. You can see beautiful Morocco, north of Africa, you can see everywhere. You can see Spain. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Also, when you come to Gibraltar, even though usually you come from Spain, which is completely Spanish, as you're crossing the border, you will feel like you visit England. You have the telephone booths, you have the famous fish and chips. We have also a kosher fish and chips, very important. And you have a cold beer. So you can sit in Gibraltar and have sit in a pub like you sit in England and really enjoy the English experience. Also, the main street and some other street are having the colonial architecture, which is beautiful. And Gibraltar is doing everything to keep it as is. So it's very nice to see the main street. A lot of people will come to Gibraltar to do shopping because it's a VAT-free. Ask me if it's cheaper. I don't know how cheaper it is, but people come to buy a perfume, electronical, cigars, cigarettes, and spirit, alcohol. So a lot of people come into Gibraltar to do shopping. Until not so long ago, in Gibraltar, we had a lot of English shops that you couldn't find in Spain. Today, you can find everything everywhere. But really, until 3 years ago, you couldn't find Dorothy Parkins, Marks and Spencer, Topshop in Spain. So people used to come in Gibraltar in order to do English shopping. We were speaking about the view. One of the nicest points in Gibraltar is the southern point that used to be known once as the end of the world. Okay, the lighthouse, and with a beautiful view of Africa. It's not a great visibility in that day, actually, but you can still see Africa just across the strait. The width of the strait is about 11 miles, so it's quite close. But also, a few years ago, about 25 years ago, they built a mosque. And they built a mosque in a place that, for me, I'm talking about my own opinion, is a terrible spot. Best spot for a Muslim, but really difficult for the rest of the world. Nobody was thinking. But in 1711, the Moors enter Europe through Gibraltar and capture all Europe. Today, any boat that crosses the Strait of Gibraltar will see the first thing, the mosque, the southern point of Gibraltar. So that's my opinion. Now you remember the picture, the slide that I showed you at the beginning, the black and white slide that I told you that I want you to remember. Because in this slide, you can see the red line, which I painted. And this red line is show where the sea used to be. Okay? So really the fortress that we saw, the fort that we saw before was here. This was the border. From here, there was sea. And in the last few years, because Gibraltar is growing and growing, there's more and more people coming in, Gibraltar is capturing the sea, is drying the sea and building over the sea houses. So all these houses that you see, and today I think it's most of Gibraltar is not really in the land of Gibraltar, it's on the land of the sea. Okay, so that's why Gibraltar is growing and growing. And one of the things that it's really fun to do in Gibraltar is to take the cable car and go from the bottom to the top. And this is a beautiful picture where you can see when you go up to the top, you can see really the Mediterranean in one side and the strait towards the Atlantic Ocean to the other side. You can see Spain and you can see Africa that it's behind us that we don't see now, but it's beautiful, beautiful. And we have our friend. I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but in Gibraltar we have wild monkeys, the macaque monkeys, and they are part of Gibraltar. Gibraltar is very proud of them. Actually, Gibraltarian and British believe that if the macaque monkeys will disappear from Gibraltar, the British will disappear from Gibraltar. And one of the things that Churchill brought to Gibraltar of monkeys in order to make sure that the monkeys will stay in Gibraltar. Until 20 years ago, we had like a regiment in the army who used to take care only after the monkeys. Today, we don't have any more army in Gibraltar, but we still have people from the nature reserve who are in charge of the monkey. It's a completely wild monkeys, even though that they give them food, but it's one of the biggest attraction. They are all over the place. You can take picture with them. When you come to Gibraltar, there's all kind of rules that you have to follow because they are wild, but still very, very cute. Very, very cute, the monkeys. Another thing that we have in Gibraltar, we have a stalactite cave. Actually, we have two, but one is open to the public. It's not kept well in many ways because you can go in, you can touch. But on the other hand, Gibraltar is using this as a concert hall. It has incredible sound, and you don't really need a microphone in order to hear. Again, when we come to Gibraltar, I hope that you will sing inside the wall. We have another thing which is very, very interesting in Gibraltar. Inside the rock, okay, remember, again, I'm going again. We said that the whole rock, it's 1,400 feet, correct? We said that all Gibraltar, around Gibraltar is 8 miles. Inside the rock, we have 32 miles digging as a tunnels, okay? 32 miles digging inside the rock, which means that inside the rock, we have a whole city. We have a hospital, we have a garage, we have a safe, we have a war room. Thing we need inside the rock in a case of war, but also this site are made, this tunnel made to bring up the bombers in order to shoot and to control, to use the strategic point of Gibraltar. So it's a very, very interesting tunnels. And of course, when we in Gibraltar, it's it's very interesting to see that. They were started digging them in the First World War, and they finished them in the Second World War, where they really, really used them. We also have in Gibraltar a hanging bridge from one point to another, while everything is on the air, and it's another very nice thing to do if you come into Gibraltar. We have a skywalk, which is quite new, which you can walk around and you walk on a glass and you feel that you are between earth and sky at the skywalk. And then if you are a hiker on the west side of Gibraltar, on the east side of Gibraltar, there is a beautiful walk. It's called the Mediterranean Step. It's a very challenging walk, but it's if somebody likes to hike, it's a beautiful hike. It's only 2 kilometers, very short and beautiful views. Very interesting when you come to Gibraltar, of course, is to visit the synagogue and to meet the community members who always like to explain and tell about the community in Gibraltar. They're very, very nice people. Also in Gibraltar, we have dolphins who lives in the Bay of Gibraltar, or the Bay of Algeciras. It depends who you're asking. Algeciras is the port city, it's next to Gibraltar. So of course the Spanish call the Gibraltarian call it Gibraltar Bay. But we have dolphins that live all year round in this bay, because we have some refineries that are doing some hot water, and they love living there. So dolphins all year round, and it's beautiful. If you like to gamble, you can come and gamble in Gibraltar. We have a beautiful casino, and we have a boat that were turned into an hotel. The 5-star hotel in Gibraltar is really a boat that was built to be hotel, and it's an idea of a Finnish family who has 2 boats like that, one in the Thames in London and one in Gibraltar. And really they came up with this idea to places that don't have a lot of land. So instead of building and taking over a land, you just bring a boat, you tie the boat to the ground, so it's not floating, even though that it's over the water, but it's a standing boat, and you have a beautiful hotel. Also, if you're in Gibraltar, you have a good chance to see a plane landing just next to you, just in front of you. The flag of Gibraltar. So funny enough, the symbols on the flag, we have the fort and we have the key. We got them not from nobody else than Queen Isabel. That we don't like her so much because she was the one who signed the Inquisition, but she gave Gibraltar these 2 symbols, and the symbols until today are very important to us. The fort is the power of Gibraltar, the safeness of Gibraltar, the rock, and the strength of Gibraltar. While the key is symbolized 2 things. First of all, it's the key to the Mediterranean or to the ocean. So it's the one who's controlled the Strait of Gibraltar. And also in Gibraltar, they had like 4 doors that used to be open every morning and closed every night. The key was at the governor's hand. He has to keep it on himself 24 hours a day, apart from the time that he gave it to the region, to the army, to go and open and then to close the gate. So every day they used to take the keys twice a day and open and close all the gates. What makes Gibraltar so special to live? Like today, why people come to live in Gibraltar? So first of all, it's a very small and friendly place. It's a very safe for kids. Kids can walk, and everybody knows everyone, and everybody is taking care of everyone. There's a very rich community life. When I'm speaking about community life, I'm talking about the Jewish community life, but also Gibraltarian community life. people are very involved in doing things together, and it's very nice, very warming. It's close to work. There's no traffic, So for people who come from big cities, usually the father or the mother, whoever works, when he goes to work, he goes at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and he's not coming back until very late at night. In Gibraltar, because everything is so close, the father can jump home over lunch to have lunch with his kids, or he can go to school, or collecting the kids, can find much more time to see the kids. So the family life is much nicer for the family. There's free education. So you have schools for free. Jews are going to the Jewish school. Christian go to the Christian school. So all the schools are free. When you finish school and you were accepted to university in UK, usually, Gibraltar will pay for the university, will pay for your flight, and also pay for your living in London or in UK, wherever you choose. There's also free health insurance. You have to pay a small amount, but then everything is free, including dental, until you're 18 years old. So everybody's enjoying a free health insurance. All the sport facilities in Gibraltar are free. Gibraltar built a very interesting economic model for tax reason, and that's why they are attractive a lot of high-tech company to come and build the main office in Gibraltar. But in order to create this economic thing, the housing in Gibraltar is very expensive, and really the normal people, the normal Gibraltarian, finish to study and coming to Gibraltar find it extremely high or expensive or almost impossible to buy house. Therefore, the government is doing housing, and it's not like a bad housing. It's a very good housing, and it's in a normal price, in a price that you can buy, the young couple can buy with a lot of help. So it helped the people of Gibraltar to come back to Gibraltar and buy housing, which is very important. All the people that work in the ministry or in the government are getting more or less a UK salaries. UK salaries is great in Gibraltar because Gibraltar is much cheaper than UK. And don't forget that you can go to Spain and buy there, and there it's even cheaper. So the value of money is much higher. And then that it's the closeness to Spain and to Europe. You can reach everywhere in Europe very, very easy. You don't even need a plane to use. You can drive to many places. So it's a great way of living. This is the last slide, and a nice little story, of course. This is our previous governor, Mr. Ed Davies, and his wife Lorraine, which her surname, the middle surname of her is Ezra. She's an Iraqi Jew who's married to Ed. And when he was a governor of Gibraltar, and thanks to her, they were very, very involved in the Jewish community and in Israeli community and in cooperating with Israel. So thanks to Ed, we have a lot of things going on between Israel and Gibraltar flourishing. That's it. I'm done. I thank you so much for being with me, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. And if you have a question, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Aya, that was so interesting. Loved it.
Thank you.
There was a question in the chat about what happened during the Holocaust to Gibraltar. Do you know any of that history?
Yes. So Gibraltar was under the British. So in the Holocaust, it stayed, it was fighting. As I said, the Allied forces were in Gibraltar. Nothing happened. The Jews, as everybody else, were evacuated to all kinds of places. Even though the German wanted to bomb Gibraltar, Spanish was against it. They they bombed Gibraltar, but nothing happened. There was freeze or nothing happened. And that's it. That was the only time that they were suffering a little bit. But to evacuate from Gibraltar and not being in Gibraltar, in the Holocaust, it was of the Allied forces.
We noticed, hello, we noticed a very interesting picture you put out with Rabbanim. I think it was a picture depicting 1726, I think, or I don't remember the date. More important, the picture was that of Reverend Ben Harosh and Hacham Solomon, who, that's right. Go on. Now, Reverend Ben Harosh, very great. He was the rabbi who married us in Beavis Marks about almost 50 years ago. So it was amazing to see his picture there and all the gentlemen around him. We don't recognize any other people, but certainly the Hacham and Reverend Ben Harosh, that you should wish him well, because Alfon Ben Harosh was not very well at the moment.
What was the occasion? What was the occasion? Can you say what was the occasion for the gathering of Hacham, who was the chief rabbi of Britain? Why were they there? I don't know.
I don't know, but maybe who was telling us about that?
My name is Iha.
Raphael.
From Israel, and we used to live in London, and the Rabbi Halfon Ben Harosh and the Rabbi Levi were our Shnei Rabbanim who married us in Beavis Marks.
They were also Edim.
Yeah, and also the Edim. Yeah.
But our son-in-law is Yehuda.
Yehuda?
Jacob.
Yehuda, I don't, it doesn't ring to me right now.
Yeah, we'll come back to you. Sorry.
Okay.
We'll come back to me, for sure.
I want to thank you for all the lovely details that you brought for us. Especially, I loved seeing all of the pictures of the synagogues, how the decor, how the sayings on the walls, how the wedding rituals are so much like what we do and celebrate right here. And sharing your family history was especially lovely, as well as the pictures of the food. Your daughter's beautiful. It was great reuniting with you again. And I think
only one of them. I have three. So.
Well, the picture, if there are any at all like the one you showed us, you're really blessed because she was a beauty.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us today. I think
My pleasure.
Yes, everyone will agree with me how much we enjoyed you. We'll give you a round of applause. Actually. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was great being with you. I hope I warm you a little bit. Less cold right now.
You did. This was just right for today.
And I hope to see you all in Gibraltar. I know some of you I'm going to see very soon. So
Gibraltar's special. It's really wonderful. And you made it even more so. Very, very nice talk.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a great day.
Great to see you, Aya.
Thank you.
Great to see you,
Great
Aya.
to see you all.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank
Say
you.
hello to Isaac.
I will tell him no.
Thank you.
I miss you.